Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Brownsville Matters. I'm your host, Dr. W.F. Strong. This is KXIQ on the radio, and it's also on YouTube as a podcast. Have with me today Alejandra Zertuche. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Close enough? Who is a muralist, right? You're a muralist, an herbalist, and what other list are you?
An art teacher, a mom.
A mom? A mamaist?
I guess I don't have
An
access
artist?
to clay right now, but I do love pottery, like working with pottery or ceramics, and yeah, I don't know. Like anything I can get my hands on, I'll play with. So.
You teach art?
Yes.
Full time?
No. I teach on Saturdays at the Carlota Petrina Cultural Center right now. I was teaching at the museum, but just the scheduling wasn't working out for me. So, yeah.
You look like an artist.
Thank you. Thank you.
You have the nice hat and
the color coordination.
The color coordination, yes, very cool.
The paint-stained arms.
And tattoos. Tell me about your tattoos. That seems to be a common question for people with tattoos. Is there's a story to all of them, or they say something important?
I guess there is a story to all of them. Let's see. This is Mafalda, and she is a character from a comic strip from Argentina. And she's a little political feminist, and my dad used to call me Mafalda when I was little. So
because
I've always been
outspoken
a little outspoken, and I still have to work on that. I need to keep my mouth shut sometimes, but that's why she's there to kind of. She's my conscience.
So your dad picked up on this when you were little.
When I was little,
and so what was it you were doing or saying that made him think that about you?
So this is before the internet. So I loved reading, and one of my favorite things to read was the encyclopedia. And so I knew a bunch of random facts. And I think now that I'm more like looking into ADHD, I think that's part of it. All of my, random interests and I don't know, all the things that I like to learn about.
What encyclopedia did you have?
I have the Britannica.
Britannica. Oh, you had the big one.
Yeah.
You had the heavy-duty one.
Yeah.
That's interesting because I was telling my boys the other day how that was our Google, the encyclopedia. And I would just go get, I would say, I want to know about snakes. I'd go get the S, and I just sit there with looking through all the snakes and the S's, and then while you're there, you run into ships, and so then you learn all about ships. So, in fact, I had a grandmother who was, she lived with us when I was about 5-6 years old. She was 75 at the time, and she always felt bad that she never went to college, and so she bought herself a set of World Book encyclopedias, and she figured if she would read them cover to cover, that would give her the equivalent of a college degree. And, of course, that would be actually much more than a college degree. But she actually, I don't think she actually sat down and read them. I don't think anybody could have the patience to go through every single thing. But she did spend a lot of time with them. So there's a good education in there, for sure.
Love books. I mean, it's so hard. Like moving recently was so hard. Like to get rid of any books. Like everything else can go. Like I don't care about like the shoes even. Like the books are like. It was so hard to like have to get rid of some because I don't have space for all of it right now. So
if anybody sends me, and a lot of people do this because they know that I have this love for beautiful libraries. And so anybody sends me on Facebook or Instagram a picture of a beautiful library in Bavaria, I'll file it away in my collection of beautiful library photographs. Cool. And it might be a picture of the outside of the building, or it might be just a study room in there, or it might be a staircase or whatever. But they're cathedrals to books. Yeah. So I love the books, of course, too.
Yeah, to me, I mean, I made that mural at the library. I finished it last year or this year. I don't even remember. It's all messed up right now. But that just being in the library for so many days at a time and like being surrounded by the people and getting the feedback from them, but to me, like, it was so special to be part of that and to have my work there, because I feel like it's a sacred space in the community. Like, it's a safe space in the community too for kids that need, somewhere to go sometimes, or people that don't have access to a lot of, the things that we need, like internet right now and all that. But it was really cool to just be able to be immersed in it for like hours and hours a day, every day. So I don't know.
Did you feel a bit like Michelangelo?
Oh no, I wish, but I felt not that bad, because I think they had to chase him down to finish the Sistine Chapels, and I wanted to finish, because. I mean, it was just it's my longest project, not the biggest, but I guess because I only had access to little sections at a time, it took a little longer. I did a 5-story mural in Matamoros, and that took me a month, but I had access to the whole wall at once, so it was easy for
So you
I
had
work on the roots.
scaffolding. You had scaffolding.
I had scaffolding, not the best, but Matamoros style.
I was reading about Tom Lee, who was I don't know. Are you familiar with Tom Lee? He was a muralist out of El Paso.
I have to see his work. I'm really bad with names.
There's two ways you might know him. First of all, he was known as a muralist. He actually studied in Chicago when he was young with some famous muralists there, and then he returned to Texas. He's from El Paso, and he did a lot of the murals that you see in old post offices, where you see the whole wall.
Oh, okay,
often scenes with cattle and cowboys and stuff like that. But he also was a writer, and he wrote probably one of the best collections of books. It's a 2-volume set that's in many Texas homes, the history of the King Ranch.
Okay.
Volumes 1 and 2, and so he wrote that. And there, you look in any true Texans library collection, and you'll almost always see those 2 volumes in there from the. I think it was published originally in the late 50s, early 60s, something like that. But anyway, he wrote it. But so he was a writer and a muralist. But the reason I bring it up, two reasons, is that his wife said on their first date, he took her to see his mural. That she had to go up, 4 stories to scaffolding to see this mural he was working on the ceiling of a building, and then she was overcome by the smell of paint, and he had to sit there with her a while to let her regain her composure and to make it down. But this is the thing that always blows my mind when I look at, out of all the forms of art, the mural is the one that confuses me the most, in the sense that I don't know how you do that on large form. I understand how someone takes a painting that's 3 feet by 2 feet and recreates what they have in their mind or what they see in a photograph. But to do it in large form and get the composition to where it's I don't know the words for it, but it's balanced. It's not distorted from one image to another.
Yeah.
So. How do you do that?
I have no idea.
No, you don't know.
I mean, to explain it is a little difficult, because the first few murals, big murals that I did, where you do have to kind of like stand back a couple of yards or a few yards to like see the whole thing. It takes some getting used to that, like you need to step away. Even like when you're drawing or working on something smaller, you need to step away to kind of give some space and you can see it better, right? You see the whole picture. With murals, when I first started, it was like, I guess my first one was when I was pregnant with my oldest. So this was about 14 years ago, and it was a challenge, because I had never done something so big and so tall, and I needed like scaffolding and everything, and it was like, okay, but you're up there and you're like, oh my, okay, this doesn't look right. You have to fix a lot, and then. With the 5-story one, that was even worse. I lost so much weight during that one, because I was going up and down the scaffolds, just making sure that the symmetry and the. Yeah. I'm sure there are ways, to. I mean, I was in Matamoros. I wasn't going to put my phone and then look at the, try to like watch from a distance, have it recording or something. So it was a little difficult.
I mean, do you do it by section? You say, I'm gonna do this part.
I have friends that work on like grids. I've never been able to work with a grid. Like I honestly just freehand everything and kind of fix it if needed. Like at the library, I think I fixed a couple of images that I needed to make a little bit bigger once I got off the lift. It looked a little too small, so I fixed a few things. But I think by now I'm a little bit better at kind of like being able to visualize the size of the image that I'm going to paint.
So 5 stories in Matamoros. That's enormous to me. And you had
I cried.
No, I'm sure. And were you working in the heat? Were you doing this in the summer?
Yeah, I was doing this in the middle of the summer, which is another thing that we need to like be a little more aware of as if we hire muralists. Like, let's not have people work in the sun like that. It's a lot of work, and it's very exhausting. And
well, I would just be concerned not only about the heat, but paint. Does it dry so fast that you can't make corrections or adjust?
Well, with acrylic paint, it's always kind of that way. I've learned to work a little bit more with acrylic paint. I actually started taking oil painting again because it's been so long.
Well, what is the difference between oil and acrylic?
Well,
I know it's probably for artists, it's a very basic question, but
no,
as a layperson, I'm curious.
That way you understand the difference. Well, oil paint is oil-based. So you have the pigment, right? The pigment is the color.
Right.
And the binder is whatever medium you use to get the pigment to the wall, or it's the sticky stuff.
The sticky stuff,
The
I like
sticky
that.
stuff. So that's kind of how I explain it to my kids in my class, because I was trying to explain to them how you make paint. And we used watercolor, so I was explaining to them you can make your own watercolors if you use, for example, the pigment with honey. So you can use the honey as a binder, and that makes you can use that as a watercolor. And with acrylic, it's, I guess, like a polymer base or like a plastic base. So it dries fast, and it's like I don't know if you've ever noticed that when you use acrylic on another plastic, it's easy to peel off, and it's like a plastic. So that's a difference. And so oil takes sometimes hours or days or months to completely dry, and acrylic dries instantly. So it's easier and better.
When you say instantly, you mean within a minute? Or
I guess
faster
it depends on
than
the
that?
layer.
Yeah.
And how thick you apply the layer. It depends on the weather. It depends on the moon. I don't know.
When you go back and look at your mural in the library, do you want to fix it?
Oh yeah, all the time. I try not to even look at it.
Is that right?
And I'm so happy. I haven't received any negative feedback, which is kind of concerning, because I'm like, I know not everybody loves it, and it's fine. It's not.
It's art.
It's art.
Not everybody's going to love anything.
I would like some more like constructive criticism, so I can be better. Because I know I could. I can make my work better, and but everybody seems to really like it. So I think. I mean, I'm happy about that.
Sure.
But do they really like it, or do they just think? Do they just like me? Like, I don't know. So it's mostly my friends that have been like, giving me the feedback, and people that were there. I'm really happy that people that they like it. And I had a lot of kids like telling me like, oh, you should put a tlacuache up there. So I put a little tlacuachita with her babies on her back, and I added some characters from my favorite movies, from the Ghibli movies, the little like forest creatures and things like that. So there's a few little Easter eggs in there.
So when kids look at it, do they recognize that that's where that comes from?
The ones that have seen it, yes. And I've had people like send me pictures of like, hey, I found your hobbit hole. I put a Don Quixote silhouette up there too, because my dad was a big fan of Don Quixote, and he had like different volumes.
Is your dad still alive?
No, he passed away 12 years ago, about 12, 13 years ago.
So he would have loved to have seen that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, I cried so much while I was doing it, because I would think about him a lot, and my dad never really got to see my bigger work. So, but, I mean, I guess he's still watching.
Did this talent come out when you were 2 years old?
I don't know if when I was 2, but...
Were you sketching? Were you
always
doing...
drawing.
Always drawing?
Always drawing, always doodling, I've always been really curious. I've always liked playing with, mud and making little things, and like collecting bugs and reptiles and things like that. And but yeah, I was always doodling, and I think that was one of the things that got me in trouble a lot at school. Sometimes was the teachers thought I wasn't paying attention because I was drawing while they were speaking, But to me, it was easier to pay attention to them if my hands were busy doing something. So now, like in college, I was crocheting in class, and it would keep my hands busy. But I'm listening to the professor,
So you crochet too.
I do crochet, and
So you're a broad spectrum artist. You just love aesthetics.
I like making stuff.
Well, speaking of my grandmother, you remind me of her again because she crocheted, and I think a lot of women in her time did that. She'd watch TV and she would crochet, and then over a period of a year, she'd have a blanket. I
know it's so crazy how some women can just bust out like complete sweaters and things. I guess I make little hats, and I don't make. I think my biggest crochet project has been like a little coat that I did. And it started falling apart because I didn't know how to like put everything together, but I'm still working on it. And I've made little toys for my kids and things like that.
Well, it sounds like you like to play in a lot of different art forms.
Yes.
But painting is your strength. That's where you feel strongest.
I think so. But the first time I had access to clay and I made like my first bust, my first painting teacher or mentor, Onesimo Gallardo, he's a painter in Matamoros. He came to that show in college, and he told me, he's like, I see why you had such a hard time. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you're a sculptor. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I still do. My dad taught me to carve. He gave me a pocket knife when I was like 9. And I started carving soaps and carving crayons and carving things. And now I still carve avocado seeds. So I'll make little faces, or I'll make like little creatures in the avocado seeds. And it just kind of like I don't know. I've always liked creating or bringing out the creature from the block, I guess.
What was that? I forgot who said it. It's a kind of famous thing in art that you create a sculpture by removing everything that's not David.
Removing everything that. Yeah, I think I heard that recently, actually. Removing everything that's not the elephant or something like that. Yes,
you just take away everything that's not the thing you're doing.
Yeah.
Well, what
so
about?
It's like all my tools right here.
I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you. Your tattoos, your face, your makeup, your hair. Are you a work of art for yourself?
So. Like I didn't used to see it so much that way.
Is your face a canvas to you?
I like playing with makeup. I think it's fun, and
I have a 9-year-old daughter. She's always playing with
I didn't do a lot of makeup, or I didn't wear a lot of makeup when I was younger. I guess I rejected it a little bit just because it was just.
Because you were a feminist?
Well, yeah, but that's where we go kind of wrong. And that's another thing with the crochet thing that I kind of like figured. That like I feel like that first wave of feminism, and I don't know if it's still, because I'm kind of out of the loop, I guess, with the mainstream stuff, but they kind of rejected everything that was traditionally feminine, like crochet and embroidery and all of these, crafts and art forms. So it was like, no, I'm not going to be cooking, but instead of actually embracing the traditionally feminine and making it and considering it fine art, because you can see now like embroidery work in museums, like modern stuff that's considered fine art now. Quilting. I would love to learn to sew, and all these things that I feel like. And it's part of the process, everything evolves and ideas evolve and everything. And that, I guess that first rejection towards the feminine arts kind of, you have to go back. Like you always go back. And
there was the same issue for men, is that if they, did certain things, if a man were to crochet, then that was, he wasn't a real man,
right.
So many things were denied to men too in the aesthetic world because it wasn't manly, right?
Yeah. No, my boys know how to sew on a button.
Well, no, we're in a world now where that's different.
But still, though, like you still get, like I was at I took some yarn to my kids' jiu-jitsu class so I could work on something while they were in class, and the kids that were waiting for their class or were waiting for their parents. They started asking me to teach them. So I brought a loom the next day and I started teaching them to make a little hat and everything. And I had like 4 little boys sitting around me and they're all like playing with the yarn. And I thought like, wow, like one I kind of was like, I hope their dads don't like think is weird.
Weird,
you know?
yeah.
But they were happy. They're like, "Ooh, we're making a hat," you know. So
Yeah, it is interesting. Little kids are so enormously creative, and you give them anything, and they're wonderful. And then you have adults that come in and put these limitations by gender or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like I give an example. One of my great sadnesses in my mature years and now is that when I was about I guess 7, 8 years old, I played the piano, and I was taking piano lessons. I've been taking a couple of years, and I was very good. I had a genuine talent. And yet my brother started playing baseball out in the street with the other boys in the neighborhood, and they were older, my brothers, and they kept telling me, come play baseball. What are you doing playing piano? Play baseball. Don't be a sissy. Come play baseball. So I went to play baseball, and guess what? I don't play baseball. Now, I didn't even play, I played a little bit in Little League and stuff, but, then after I was about, 15 or 16, that baseball was over. I never much played again with a little softball game, but I could have played piano all my life, and I still do now, but I don't have the development I would have had I just stuck with it and been immune to the word sissy.
Yeah, I feel like words have carried such weight.
Do, yeah.
Like, I
They
don't
do.
know. That idea that boys don't cry and things like that, and like me having 2 boys, I'm like, trying to raise little gentlemen, like, and but at the same time having them be themselves too. Like my youngest says his favorite color is pink, and okay. My oldest would say his favorite color was light red, and I don't know why they choose pink. Like it was never like I pushed it or anything. I think the little one just really likes Kirby, that Nintendo character. So
well, fortunately, that too has changed. If I had worn a pink shirt when I was in my 20s, in fact, I did once, and this friend of mine said, "That's a nice shirt. Do they sell men's clothes there too?" And so you get that sort of thing. But now, and my boys are 19, 22, 23. It's not even an issue. Nobody cares about. Nobody makes that sort of judgment.
And actually, originally,
anymore.
The colors were
reversed.
Yeah. Pink used to be for the boys, and the light blue was for the girls. So
they got switched somewhere along the line. It's also random, isn't it?
Yeah. It's interesting that like the whole history of the use of color is super interesting too, and I've kind of like. Gone down the rabbit hole.
And then you can go back to our founding fathers. They wore makeup. They had wigs
and tights.
and
Yes.
it's completely ridiculous that we
and heels were invented by Louis XIV or something. So
we completely reversed
because
ourselves
he liked
on
how
so
his
many
calves
things.
Looked. That's why. Yeah. So it's true.
Well, it does that.
Yeah, it does that.
It does that.
It also hurts your feet, but
So, do you have a mural in your head that you would like to do?
Yes, I would like to paint more native medicinal plants.
That's right. You're a herbalist.
Yes, I love playing with, or not playing, but like making my own medicine from plants. I'm trying to focus more on what we grow locally, or what like grows wild, what weeds mainly, because people don't really realize how important all the weeds are, and they just walk around them or walk over them or mow on them, and that's it. Those little tiny not broccoli, like cauliflower looking tiny white flowers. That's called it's a type of feverfew, and you can use it to help. It helps regulate the menstrual cycle. It helps lower fevers. It helps with digestion. Just like all these uses to this little weed that we just tear out of our garden and throw it away.
Do you have to have it in large doses? No.
One time I had like a stomach ache, and all I did was I grabbed some. I made a little I just squished it, threw it in.
But how did you know? How did you know to do that?
I had read about it.
You had read about it,
and then once you start kind of studying the plants, you start noticing that like all of the similarities. Like I noticed that like yellow flowers help with inflammation. Like chamomile and calendula or marigold. So those help with inflammation. So it kind of there's like this common.
But how do you know whether to take them raw or mash them up or boil them or whatever? You don't know?
Sometimes I don't. I mean, most people will make a tea. I kind of just experiment. I'm my own guinea pig, and so are my kids. And I know I'm never using anything that might be, toxic or anything. I always make sure that it's
I always wondered that
research.
about mushrooms. There's some of them will kill you. So how did they learn that? So, well, running bear died from that. Don't eat that one. With the Native Americans, they learned by trial and error that running bear died. So we know we don't take that mushroom.
Yeah. Well,
I saw one in my yard the other day. I
mushroom?
think it's a Guinness Book of World Records. It's a mushroom like this big.
Wow.
Like
out of the ground?
Out of the ground. It comes in layers. So you have a bottom layer and they go like this. And I swear it's like about 18 inches in diameter. It's just enormous. It's white. I have no idea what it is. But
is it like kind of, is it close to water?
Yeah.
So it might be an oyster mushroom. You might be able to eat that.
Well, I'll bring it to you and you can eat it.
I'll let you know.
Then if you and Running Bear are still alive.
I heard someone say one time there are old mushroom hunters and brave mushroom hunters. But there are no old, brave mushroom hunters. So, you have to be very careful. And and it's fun, once you start learning and because...
Well, don't they have, in England, don't they have dogs that are real good about sniffing out?
I think they use
or is it pigs? Pigs, that's right.
For truffles.
They use pigs for truffles, truffle pigs.
Yeah.
They go sniff them out.
I never liked the taste of truffles.
I don't know.
It's a little too strong for me.
Have you read Tony Zavaleta's book?
I have. I used to have it, and I lent it to a friend, and it never came back. I need to get it back, but it's a really good one too because that's where I start kind of like in the beginning.
You got the start to that.
Looking for all the local plants, like bougainvilleas. They're expectorant, so I use it for my kids for their coughs.
But again, how do you prepare? Are you getting just
for that one?
Are you getting the blossoms? What are you getting?
The leaves and the
leaves.
Well, the pink parts are actually leaves. The flowers are inside. So I use the pink and the greens. So
I know some people make teas of these things.
You can make teas. You can smoke them too. And I know a lot of people think that smoking is bad, but the process of smoking is not bad. It's what you're smoking that can cause. Like cigarettes have all these pesticides and because of the way they process tobacco now. But for example, like if you smoke Molin or Gordolobo, that actually is a tonic for your lungs. So it's actually going to be good for you. It's not. The smoke is not. It's just another way to ingest herbal medicine.
It's a delivery system.
Yeah.
In my walks around in nature here, I'm fairly knowledgeable about the different types of trees and things of that nature. But I'm often a little shocked at what people don't know, even trees. They don't know the difference between a mulberry tree or they know mesquite. Everybody knows mesquite, at least that. But huizache or they just don't know the different types of trees: hackberry, chinaberry, and then when it comes to bushes, different types of bushes, I'm pretty lost myself. I know trees, but I don't know the native bushes. I just know. It's a lot of green. It's a green line of bushes there in front of the resaca.
The Texas sage, the gray bushes that they use everywhere when they flower purple.
Oh, I love sage.
So those, when they're flowering, you can see they put them on the sidewalks or everywhere here. When they're flowering, it means that rain's coming.
And then after it rains, they smell wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah, they smell really, really good. When I used to live in Arizona, they had the purple sage that grew in the desert, and it would smell really, really wonderful after a rain. So we have, I guess that's the same thing we have here, but it wouldn't be like here. We plant it and we kind of nurture it, and there it just goes wild. Out. Famous book by Louis L'Amour, The Riders of the Purple Sage. The men who were Texas Rangers and all rode out into the desert regions and would ride through the wild sage. It's a nice image.
Yeah.
And a great title, Riders of the Purple Sage.
I should check it out. I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, if you like Westerns, it's a classic Western.
I read anything.
You read whatever.
Yeah.
Well, what about in books about art? What have been some of the influential works you've read? Or about an artist, a biography, anything? It's
really strange how you read about the artist and their image completely changes after there's all these you idealize these people so much during school and stuff when they're teaching you the masters and all that, and then you kind of start to see them more as human, and it's not that they're less.
Never meet your hero.
Right, yeah. It's one thing that, like Diego Rivera, what an interesting character. And like I read his autobiography, and one thing that really like stuck with me that I was like, why? He was a cannibalist. He ate human flesh once in a while.
I didn't know that. What?
Yeah,
What?
strange. And he talks about like going to the medical school and asking, it's just, and I'm like, wow, like I don't know if I should be reading people's biographies anymore. It's just like it's really strange how you find all of these
Did
things.
his wife
like,
know this?
I don't know, but I mean, with all the stuff that was
Did
going on
Frida
in their
know about
life,
this?
yeah,
Did anybody tell Frida?
that's probably,
I don't
but she
think
probably didn't care.
Well, if she knew this, she might not have slept soundly around him,
Yeah, that's true. That's scary.
So why are you up at 3 a.m., Diego?
Why are you staring at me that way? Yeah. There's not a lot of
But he was kind of mean to her, right?
He was. Yeah, they had a very stressful relationship. And I think it's kind of funny how we see we see her, and she's kind of this Marilyn Monroe icon type now, especially, in the more Hispanic community. But she suffered a lot, and
he took her to Chicago, was it, where he was doing a mural, I believe?
I think so, yes.
And she just hated it there, and she just felt very uncomfortable and wanted to go home. I mean, I don't know a lot about that. I just remember that story.
They had a very
tumultuous relationship, right?
Yes, like both of them, cheated on each other constantly.
And isn't it Madonna who put her on the international map in a sense? I mean, she was already well known.
Yeah.
But when Madonna started buying her paintings, then the value of those paintings just skyrocketed.
It's so strange how things like that.
Yeah, it is.
How one person can tweet something and then everybody just buys it.
Well, I guess in today's world, she's probably more famous than her husband, right?
Yeah. Yeah, most people don't know who Diego Rivera is anymore.
And
but it's mostly, I think it's just great marketing.
Great marketing, yeah.
Because nobody really knows her story either. They just know, Frida, And
have you been to Mexico City to her?
I haven't yet. I did. I've been to Mexico City once, and I went for another reason. I went on for a gig, but I had one day off, and I used it to go to the Museum of Anthropology. And I loved it.
Oh yeah, you can.
My sister hated it. I think. I don't think she was very interested. But I was like, I could have been there all day, and yeah.
You need, I think, everybody who has an interest in fine art needs to spend about a month in Mexico City because the museums are just extraordinary.
It's a little difficult now with the kids, but.
And I've been to Frida Kahlo's house and museum, and it's mesmerizing.
Yeah. Yeah, I've read about it and seen pictures and everything, documentaries, and I just need to go. I need to make the time and just take the kids with me so they can.
And then I know that San Miguel de Allende is seen as a kind of tourist trap by some people, but there is a lot of great art there.
Yes, I've been there a couple of times. And actually, I think my first ceramics professor lives there now.
Nancy Schleit.
Nancy Schleit, yeah.
Yes, I know Nancy.
She's amazing.
Yeah,
I love her.
She's been there, gosh, I guess 20 years now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she used to go down all the time before she retired, and then she retired there, full time. But actually, that's how San Miguel got the connection to the valley. It was the art connection back in the 50s or so that people started going down there to study art. From here, and they're the ones who kind of introduced the valley to San Miguel.
Oh, okay.
And they have the Art Institute there, so there was a lot of that. In fact, there was a guy, I wish I could remember his name, because I'm not really part of the artist world, so I don't know all these names off the top of my head by any means, but I know that he actually had come from Houston, and he spent his life in Puerto Vallarta, and his whole life there. He was a gringo, but he died at about 65, 70 down there in Puerto Vallarta. And he sold paintings for around $1,000 a piece. He sold it at a high enough level that he made good money, and he had a good living. So, but when he died, he left in his will money for an endowment at TSC that would pay for students to study art in San Miguel or Guanajuato in the summertime. and it still exists. It's still a scholarship.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
I was like,
It's a scholarship, but specifically designed because he thought Mexico was such a beautiful artist community at large that he wanted more students to have that experience early in life to go and spend a whole summer at the Art Institute just studying art in Mexico, and they'd have a full ride to go do that. And I think they could choose between San Miguel and Puerto Vallarta and maybe Guanajuato, I'm not sure, but a beautiful. I love to see how people of means and success will leave a little treasure behind when they die that empowers the dream that they lived for someone else.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the most beautiful endowment, I think,
yeah.
that you can leave for someone.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do that. That when they say, rather than pay for a giant tombstone in the cemetery, which won't do a lot of people good, I'll leave that money to empower this scholarship or experience for others.
Yeah, that's kind of what I would love to do before I go. Leave something for the art community and for the people that are going into that.
Unfortunately, not a lot of artists get really rich, or they get rich after they die.
After they die, yes. I mean, I'm not. My goal is not to be rich. I do love seeing my work around the city a lot. I love working with kids. I love being able to kind of tell them that they're not wrong. It's so funny how we have our children afraid of making mistakes so quick, and even in art, I'm not grading you here. I'm helping you get better. So yes, I'm going to tell you maybe you can do this, maybe you can do that when it comes to the technical aspects. But when it comes to their ideas, I always kind of let them do whatever they want to do. I just kind of help them do it. Tell them maybe try using this pencil or try using that. But
it must be difficult to really teach art well because there are some principles that are worth following to get to fully expose your genius if you have it. There are useful things. I remember Oscar Wilde said that genius is always misunderstood, and especially when first encountered. You say, I don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
And he said that he lived his life petrified that he would be understood. Because his definition of genius was to be misunderstood. I don't know what the hell he's doing. I don't know what Oscar's about, but he's just weird.
And you know what? And it's great that as an artist we have that permission to be weird. It's like I've had people tell me, "Oh, so what do you do?" I'm an artist. Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. That explains everything.
Yeah. That's why you're dressed funny. So it's weird. I have a bearded dragon, and sometimes I'll leave it on my head and I'll walk around with it, at Walmart or whatever. And I guess people that know me, that know that I wear weird things sometimes, they're just like, oh, I just thought it was a hat. I didn't know it was alive. And I'm like, no, it's my lizard. It likes to be high. So.
And it'll just stay on your head?
It'll stay on my head. Yeah. Sometimes maybe it'll jump off if it sees something it wants to eat, grass. But usually it stays there.
But I mean, you're at Walmart. And it jumps off into the Cheerio box or something.
No, I have it on a leash too, so it doesn't run off.
All right. Yeah. But for people to know you, they just say, "No, this is Alejandra.
It's just another hat.
Just what she does." Yeah.
It's another one of her costumes.
But that's a nice thing. You have this ethos that allows you a wide range of possibilities.
That's one. I mean, I like exploring different looks and different styles and different colors and different, my hair has changed color maybe 5 times in the last year, and I hadn't done that in a long time, for whatever reason.
And this works for your students, right? Because
they
see you
and I feel
being free and playful. So
yes, and I feel like it's also, I look like a cartoon, so they feel comfortable around me. They enjoy, I think I try to make it fun also. Yes, we're doing 10 shades of gray, but, I'm going to try to have a conversation with them and talk to them about, what are your ideas? What are your dreams? What are your, trying to keep, the flow of imagination while we're working on something grayscale,
Last question. What would you like to see in the artistic development of Brownsville over the next decade or so, if you could have your wish, what would you like to see that we don't have?
I think.
I know it's a tough question. Well, you can have several things.
I honestly, with the recent work that I've done with the mural, with mural work and public artwork, I feel like the art community needs a more direct communication with the city. I think the city needs a paid committee that takes care of this type of stuff, because it's great that they want to have things done, but one, they're not taking into consideration that this is a profession and we want to be taken seriously. And sometimes they offer payment that's not even going to help, with the rent for the time that's going to take to work on something. And the way they're handling this by making contests for a mural, I don't think it's the right way, because do we have a contest for doctors or for people? It just doesn't seem like it's the right way. And I've talked to other artists, friends of mine that work in public art in other cities, and there is a more specific process. And I don't know what it is exactly. I don't work with that. That's not what I do. But I feel like there should be a paid committee, because when you have volunteers working on things like this, they're just trying to get the project done. And if they're not getting paid, they're not going to invest the time that should be.
Well, it is odd that in every other walk of life, people will say business, whatever, they'll say you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
You get what you pay for. If you want excellence, you pay for excellence. But when it comes to art, somehow they feel that we can just lowball everything and still get great art.
Right. Yeah.
But
and
if you look at the Renaissance, most of the artists were put on the payroll.
Yeah. And they had patrons and
they had patrons. They were paid well. And
it's funny how the local art community has a hard time getting paid properly, but they have no problem paying for an outside artist to come in and do work, and they pay them whatever, full price.
Well, there we go back to that idea that, okay, we want to get great art, so we'll pay. But
we have great artists. We have so many awesome artists, in our community in the Valley. Like, there's so many amazing artists, and it's exhausting that there's not that many opportunities.
Well, I think that's why they want to have the competition, so they can say, okay, we have great artists, but we don't know a way of deciding who's the great artist. So we'll have a competition, and then we'll decide who has the talent we're looking for.
And that's why we need a paid committee to do it, because the contests are great if you're working with high school, or with students. It kind of helps, create experience and everything, gives them a little incentive. But when you're working with professional artists, they should have a catalog of artists and what type of work they do. And if they're looking for an artist that specializes, I don't know, in botanical drawings or, I don't know, any, whatever imagery they were looking for. And there should be a list there and there should be a communication, and the people should know who they're like. When I was living in Matamoros, and I know this is a political thing, and it's probably one of their ways of kind of getting more votes or whatever. But this candidate that actually, they had just won. They had a party for all of the creative community in Matamoros, and it was it was people from theater, from the arts, and musicians. So it was all of everybody, and because they wanted to get to know the artistic community, to work with them in the cultural aspect. I feel like we need that. Like, a lot of the people that are in the positions of power and authority, they have no idea who the artists in their community are.
And many of them don't have the aesthetic training to know what great art really is.
Include some artists in the actual committees that are deciding these things.
Yes, true.
I don't know. I mean, I know that was a little off of top, but I feel like that's one of the things that has been kind of holding us back from really growing as a city, So you
would like to see more in the way of public art, but you would like it to be well funded.
Well funded and an actual respect for our profession. Because, when we're not just dancing monkeys. You know, like I want to be able to live off of what I love doing, and people love what I do, and I want to keep teaching kids to do what they love, and you know, and I want to show my kids that you can do what you love and pay rent, you know, and not, you know, have to like, I don't know, split myself up in 20 so I can have like a bunch of gigs so I can like make ends meet, you know, and it's difficult, but I don't know if I can do anything else.
It's been the struggle for artists since time immemorial, right?
Yeah, always. And we have that idea of the starving artist. Like, we shouldn't, you know, like, why is it?
Well, that's why some artists go, you know, into graphic art. They go into corporate art, you might say.
That's one of the reasons I started doing henna, it was easier to sell at markets.
That's the way that people make ends meet, you know.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming in. I appreciate
you so
talking. Good to meet you.
Thank you.
And I don't think you look like a cartoon figure.
I don't mind. I like it.
But you certainly, when you walked in, I said, now there's an artist.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching this BSPA video. Go ahead and hit like and subscribe if you like what you see. And if you really like what you see, go ahead and go to our website, brosoperformingarts.org, and smash the donate button. And then we'll really like you too.